Hello and welcome to another edition of Insight, the Greater Cleveland Partnership feature that focuses upon areas of interest to the Greater Cleveland business community. I'm Steve Leutner, and joining me today is Marty McCann, Senior Vice President of Advocacy for the Greater Cleveland Partnership. Hi, Marty.
Hi, Steve.
Marty, today you and I are going to be talking about this proposal to nearly double the minimum wage in the city of Cleveland. As you know, there's been a long line of testimony before Cleveland City Council about this proposal. Just let me give you a little bit of the flavor of some of that testimony. Dave Wondolowski, Executive Secretary of the Cleveland Building and Construction Trades Council, quote, "If Cleveland adopts this minimum wage, it would destroy everything this community has been working for." Terry Joyce, Business Manager for Laborers Local 310, has said that developers have told him, quote, "Cleveland will just pop off of our radar if this happens. It's a done deal. We can't come there anymore." Pretty dire stuff there. Before we get back into what it might or could or would mean, what about the nuts and bolts? What is this?
Yeah, proponents submitted signatures to Cleveland City Council forcing them to put a question on a ballot that asks the city of Cleveland whether they believe that the minimum wage for the city should be $15. This may or may not be on the November ballot, but $15 for the city of Cleveland starting January 1st of next year. Again, this is only for the city of Cleveland, so the suburbs are not impacted, the county, the broader county and region are not impacted. And that's really been the sticking point for folks in our organization and elsewhere. This Cleveland-only nature really forces a lot of difficult decisions and forces a lot of challenge just for the city of Cleveland. But also the increase is an 85% increase, a nearly doubling of the minimum wage. Other places on the coast that have raised the minimum wage have a higher cost of living for starters. They have a higher minimum wage for starters, and they increase over 3 to 5 years. Here we're doing it immediately, and we're doing it nearly double. I mean, this could have a catastrophic impact to the momentum that we have in our community if this should move forward.
Could economically isolate Cleveland. It would be $15 an hour in the city. Elsewhere in the state, it would be $8.10. What are you hearing about what could happen to the city of Cleveland if this somehow got implemented?
Yeah, you can't just impact somebody's expense side, an organization's expense side, and not make no changes to the revenue side, but all of this growing expense, that will have impacts in our community. We know organizations that will be forced to cut jobs. We know organizations would be forced to move, and we know a number of organizations would not exist if this goes into practice because they won't be able to compete with the folks across the line, or they won't be able to impact the revenue side to make it happen. So this is it's a real big challenge for employers of all sizes in the city of Cleveland. GCP doesn't have a philosophical objection to minimum wage proposals. There are a number of them that are existing right now in the State House and elsewhere that we haven't taken a position on. But the Cleveland-only nature of this one is such a problem for what we're trying to do in Cleveland.
Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson opposes this. The Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine recently issued some sort of an opinion on this. Is that right?
Yeah. So this may or may not, as I said, be on the November ballot. In the meantime, we're working to set up a campaign with a number of stakeholders to oppose this measure. Mayor Jackson, Council President Kelly, a number of council members and other elected officials have been heavily involved in that, as have a number of organizations from across our community. But ultimately, even if this does pass, there's a pretty good likelihood that the state would invalidate it. The state has spoken in this space, and the Attorney General, Mike DeWine, just in the past couple of weeks issued an opinion saying what he believes are the state's rules in this space and the unlikelihood that this would be allowed. So it's a big unknown on whether we would actually be able to implement this should it pass. So it's just a real big problem, but we're working in sort of all aspects of this work.
Greater Cleveland Partnership, one of a growing legion of organizations and groups, companies that oppose this measure.
Yes.
Thanks, Marty.
Thanks, Steve.
And thanks for watching another edition of Insight. In the weeks and months ahead, we'll be examining more areas of interest to the Greater Cleveland business community.